We've got breaking news, and it's not the good kind. Unfortunately, Utah Jazz big man Walker Kessler, one of the most promising young centers in the NBA, now lost for the entire season due to a shoulder injury. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. What is this going to mean for the Jazz, for Walker Kessler as he heads into a free agent summer and the NBA's trade market? We're diving in. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, I guess before we get to everybody, we should remind everyone to subscribe to the channel, of course, here, the Basketball Bulletin. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. But, Donnie, this was shocking news, unfortunate news that came out just moments ago. Season-ending shoulder surgery. Someone else, I believe it was Shams, had it was a labrum tear for Walker Kessler. Absolutely brutal stuff here.
Yeah, it's just obviously something you don't want to see, and that's going to be a prolonged recovery period as he's got to be out for the rest of the season. And so this was I think, a big year for him for multiple reasons. You know, they started to work on the three ball last year. He had been flashing it. A little bit of bittersweet here on his ledger. It's going to permanently say he's a 75% 3-point shooter, and he's taking decent volume for a center at 1.5 per game. So that's a little bit of positive. So he'll always have that in his back pocket. But of course, obviously contract coming up, a bunch of things. So just terrible. And aside from the fact you just don't want to see this happen for anybody anyway.
He has taken 8 threes this year and has made 6 of them. I don't think that quite. He could still say I shot 75% from 3 for a season, but I don't think that quite checks the box of he's a stretch big just yet. But in 5 games played, he's averaging a double-double, 14.4 points, which is career high, 10.8 rebounds, actually a little bit of a drop-off from last year in the rebounding department, but the Jazz have been a little bit more formidable there. But 3 assists as the game expands there, 1.8 blocks, which is a low for his career, 3.2 turnovers. That's very, very high, but we know the shoulder has been bothering him. And again, we're in small sample size territory, which is 5 games. But the bottom line, Walker Kessler, when you dig into all the advanced metrics and all of that for his career, one of the best rim protecting bigs in the NBA, one of the best guys out there in terms of negatively impacting the opponent's field goal percentage at the rim, very strong rebounder, not a perfect player by any means, but an exciting young player in this league, and now gone for the entire season. For the Jazz, this does mean Jusuf Nurkic, who they traded Colin Sexton to get. We were critical of the trade. Now they really need Nurk alert. They
Game
need
winner Nurkic. You better put some respect on him.
What's that?
Game winner Nurkic. Put some respect on his name.
Game winner Nurkic. Yeah, here it is. We've got game winner Nurkic right here. The Jazz are going to need a lot more of this from Nurk. Look at this. The physicality of the paint, the offensive board, the putback. Down goes Boston.
He's like Boston. The last guy I would have had on my bingo card of getting a game winner.
Getting a game winner, right? Yep. Well, Utah's going to need a lot more of that from him. They also have Kyle Filipowski, who's excellent, great in Summer League MVP. They're going to need him to step up in a big, big way now without Walker Kessler. And the Jazz, I've been expecting Utah to, at some point, come back to earth. They look great against the Clippers on opening night. They did beat the Celtics. Donnie, we were just talking. Hopefully the Celtics don't wind up losing enough to actually get a top pick in the draft. But right now, they're sitting just outside of the play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference. Long way to go. A lot of basketball to play. But Utah right now sitting in the 9 seed in the Western Conference. This will be a setback for them for sure.
Absolutely. Walker is somebody that I think a lot of teams have targeted. I know for a fact teams have targeted and tried to acquire because of his skill set. He's one of the best defensive rebounding centers in the league. That's why I like him trying to develop into a stretch big or develop into somebody you can run some offense through is actually really big for him. He's able to finish around the basket as well. So it really rounds out the rest of his game. And so missing the rest of this year, again, is not great for his development, as you would imagine. But what I will say is that, like, you were just going over the depth on this team in terms of their bigs, and they will need improved play and production from those guys you mentioned. But they've got they can if they want to, they could really go to like 6 or 7 different forwards and centers to play big minutes for them if they really wanted to. You could slot Lowry up. You could do some other stuff. Maybe you slide Kevin in, whatever it is.
Kevin Love may have some utility again on this Jazz team.
Yeah,
the minutes
you could do that.
the minutes were starting to slip there for Kevin Love, but I mean, he could wind up being a guy who has to play significant minutes for the Jazz here. Again, I would expect that as the season goes on, Utah pulls back on those guys and goes full tank mode and all that. And with Kessler already out, maybe that gives them an excuse to do it. Yeah. But they do have some other guys here they can turn to.
The thing is also we talked about this during the summer and we kept on talking about it leading into the season, but Lowry, like, what do they do with Lowry? If that's what they're going to do, because that means they're going to have to pull Lowry back too, because he's been playing awesome, and we talked about that. So I do wonder about that as well.
Yeah, Lowry Markkanen is having a great season so far. This could, like, if they go tank mode again, honestly, it might piss off Lowry Markkanen. He's averaging right. Guess how many points per game Lowry Markkanen is averaging?
It's like 30, isn't it? It was like
31.
30. Yeah, he's killing it, man.
He might be killing the Jazz too, killing their draft pick here.
That's what I'm saying. They don't want this.
31-7 for Markkanen, plus getting to the free throw line, a career high 7.6 times per game, shooting 37% for three, 48% for the field. Teams will want to trade for that. Now, I won't go as far as saying the Jazz don't want this from him, because this means he will have trade value.
Okay, they want that, but they don't want to win games. Is what I
they don't want to. I don't know if they want the wins on their ledger, especially with Walker Kessler now out. Yeah. Let's talk about what this is going to mean for Walker Kessler. And by the way, the Jazz will tell everybody that listens that, oh, no, we love Lowry, we don't want to trade him, which is exactly what they should be saying. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. But we need to talk about what this is going to mean for Walker Kessler this summer with him hitting free agency. Let's get to that in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed. This is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin. All right, so Walker Kessler hitting free agency this summer, kinda, sorta, not really. Restricted free agency coming. Walker wanted an extension done with the Jazz this past summer, was disappointed they didn't get it done. Makes this a contract year for him. He needed this to be a big season in order to get the kind of money that he'd be looking for in his next deal. Now I can say it's not happening. There's just no way, coming off of a season-ending injury where he only played 5 games. There's just no way he's getting that long-term contract. I think his restricted free agency now gets very, very messy, and he's either going to have to take the long-term security of an incredibly team-friendly deal, or he's going to have to take that qualifying offer. I would assume the Jazz will still offer him the qualifying offer. They won't want to lose him for nothing, but I can't imagine that the big money multi-year contract that Walker Kessler was hoping to get is going to be available now next summer.
Yeah. Do you think that if he had shown that he was, on the upward trajectory offensively, if they would have been willing to give that to him?
As long as they felt like it was still positive value, I think they would have been. If they felt like there was a chance that it wasn't going to be, that it was going to be a negative value contract, like if the Jazz decided, well, we're not sure if we want to be the team to give him this next contract, then they would look to trade him by the trade deadline.
It just depends on what that number is, because if it's like 40 million, then okay, like I can see that.
What, like 4 years, 40?
No, 40 per year.
Oh, like, per year? You're talking about a max contract? Okay.
Yeah, So like if it was something like that, of course. But if it's like, 4 years, 100, maybe, like that's not so bad.
What, that 25 million a season that we saw from Josh Giddey and all those guys? Everybody's been in that range.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that so much. I don't remember exactly what the numbers he was looking for were during the offseason, but obviously they weren't able to get it done. And
He's not going to get that number now.
Yeah, whatever number he wanted, he's not going to get. No. But I do wonder if anybody is going to swoop in and offer him a bigger deal than whatever he's projected to get from the Jazz during the summer. Because I know there's a shoulder surgery that ended the season, but at the baseline, we know what he is. He's had enough. He's dealt with injuries over the last couple of seasons, but he has had enough of a sample size to know what he is as a baseline. So I do wonder if that's something that could be in play, because we know teams typically don't like to offer that restricted free agent money anymore. But I do wonder if he's an interesting case because of the fact that he's going to basically get lowballed because of this injury.
Could the injury scare away the Jazz enough to where they actually blink if a team offers him in restricted free? It is a unique situation in that regard, because typically what teams don't want to overpay on a contract. And so the only way the incumbent team doesn't match is if they feel like it's going to be a bad contract. Yeah. So that kind of kills restricted free agency right there.
Yeah, right. It's the worst spot to be in for a player is restricted free agent.
So you would need the Jazz to be very pessimistic, very hesitant to give him any kind of long-term deal, and another team to not feel that way. Yeah. And where, to me, I find that to be possible, but I find it to be unlikely, is who's going to have a better idea of what his medical situation is than Utah. So I would think that for a lot of teams, if Utah says we're a little bit worried about giving him a long-term deal or whatever it is that he wants, is another team going to look at it and go, oh, Utah's wrong and we're going to take this gamble? Yeah. I don't know. It could happen, but I'd be surprised.
I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if that did happen, because we've seen organizations take gambles in the past. Sometimes various different types of gambles. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. And there's always that, oh, it maybe didn't work for them, but it'll work for us mentality. So
the Russell Westbrook effect.
Exactly. Like I wouldn't be see, you set that up. Oh, no. You made me do it, and I just had to agree. You set that up. You can't hide your disdain for us. Look at this Laker fan wearing his LA cap talking about Russell.
That's a Dodger hat, man. Come on.
Okay, still.
The world champion Dodgers, back to back.
I had no choice. It was too far gone before I realized what you did. But sometimes that type of stuff does happen, because like I said, I do know that this is tricky all around, but we do have a baseline for what he is. Even if, again, the stuff he's flashing this season isn't there, he's still an elite rim protector, still a great rebounder, great finisher around the basket. And I don't project that to change a ton. I know obviously he'd have to rehab the shoulder, get full mobility back and all that, that entails. But I do wonder about that overall. And he's somebody that they were pretty far apart, and they have been pretty far apart in what he is, what his role is on this team over the last few years. I mean, he's a guy that was playing for Team USA, then was coming off the bench. I mean, there's just a lot that's kind of there. So I do wonder about that overall, in terms of like just his situation. But I think it's probably really likely, unless he has some sort of miraculous healing or whatever, that once he misses the rest of this season, he is going to mull over the possibility of taking that qualifying offer, because it depends on how he feels at that point. If he really is like, I can make more money than whatever they're offering me, which would probably have a pretty substantial lowball in his eyes.
Yeah.
That's possible as well.
Yeah, I mean, pretty risky too if you're coming off of a year-long injury, and let's say the Jazz offer you 4 years, 50. Which is a bargain of a deal, right?
That's
for them.
Not bad.
But if you're Walker Kessler and you just didn't play basketball for a whole season, by the way, recovery time back to return to full health, 6 to 12 months, according to Google. Again, not a doctor, but 6 to 12 months to get back to so that's going to knock out his entire season. But the point is more like a full year from now, like he should be back at the start of next season, most likely. But depending on the severity of the tear and all that. But if you're Walker Kessler and you just sat out a whole year, are you going to be willing to roll the dice on staying healthy the next season? Or are you just going to take $50 million is a lot of money. Are you just going to take $50 million and then the Jazz have, if he stays healthy, if he plays 60 games on a $50 million total contract over, say, 4 years, the Jazz would have a bargain of a deal. I wonder if that's ultimately where this lands, because of the injury. The Jazz can lowball him, and Kessler will not be willing to take that risk because he just sat out for a whole season.
I mean, 60 is probably roughly around his average. He played 74, then 64, then 58. last season. So that's right around his average. So that's probably not all too bad, all things considered, if you're the Jazz. Is there a possibility they can do some sort of like Jonathan Kuminga-esque contract where it's like a 2-year with an
team
out?
option?
Yeah, something like that potentially. Maybe that's something that they figure out. And because if you're Walker, you may also think about, okay, I know I know that because, I wanted to make more money last summer, talking about, a year from now, I wanted to make more money last summer. Unfortunately, I got hurt. I know I'm not the level of player that this contract says that I am. So can I take a couple of years of security and then get back on the market faster as opposed to a 4-year deal, right? That's something that I think you would also consider. But ultimately, bottom line, I think there's just a lot that kind of ties into this. Unfortunate that he got hurt with so many things at stake. And if you're Utah, I do want aside from that, like last thing, is there any possibility that they wind up selling him this season before we even get to that point?
I mean, we saw Steven Adams get traded while he was hurt.
By the way, this is not 2K for the record.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. 2K has that thing where you can't trade an injured player, doesn't it? You can't. That's not a thing in the NBA. You can waive the physical. The player's injured. All of that. Steven Adams, it happened with him, but
it's not common.
It's rare. It's not common. Yeah, I wouldn't expect it. But I mean, could a team who feels like they're out on the season trade for Walker Kessler, knowing he's going into restricted free agency, want to negotiate a new deal with him? Maybe. But again, what price would you have to be willing to give up in order to get Walker Kessler, to not have him play for you the rest of the season? And then before he even plays a game for you, you have to negotiate a new contract with him. I don't see it as likely. If he was under contract for like 3 more years or something, okay, 2 more years, I would see that. But the fact that you'd have to give up stuff to get him and then negotiate the contract, now you would be buying effectively the benefit of restricted free agency, but you'd also be taking the risk. Like, what if some team, there is cap space this summer, you'd be taking on the risk that some team does something crazy and presents a big offer to him and says, okay, now you have to match it. That I think teams are too risk averse today to do stuff like that. It would be a gutsy move, but I think they're too risk averse to do it.
I'll see you in a few years when we rip up this CBA, man. Everyone's too scared to do anything in this new CBA.
I don't know. I think teams are making some moves. They're
finding ways. They have to be
finding ways. They just have to be more careful with the way. I mean, we saw Jimmy Butler get traded. We saw Kevin Durant get traded. We saw Damian Lillard bought out and a team take on $20+ million in dead money.
You're talking about teams being, averse to risk. That's like the biggest risk you could have there.
Right.
Just putting that on your salaries there.
I'm saying they're worried about taking on long-term bad money, but obviously you have some teams that are saying, screw it. It's the lesser of two evils for us to have Bradley Beal and dead money on our books and Damian Lillard and dead money on our books, rather than not be able to go get, in the case of the Bucks, Miles Turner.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, well, unfortunate news, everybody. I'm sorry. I hate when we have to do shows like these where it's bad news like this, especially for a young player like Walker Kessler. But we'll see where the Jazz go from here, and we'll see what this means for Walker Kessler next summer. Devastating blow for Utah, for a young player as well, and now an uncertain future with the Jazz and Kessler. Everybody give us your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, see ya, and stay safe.